Hello, my name is Peter, the creator of Pirate Code, a pirate strategy game for PC and Mac, which you can find on Steam. Today I will be drawing Hagmar the Abyss Queen, which is a bad guy for the new expansion coming out for Pirate Code. Hagmar is an angry fish lady, so we're going to start with an angry reference. So I found this picture of this lady. She looks pretty angry, but we're going to need bigger eyes. Just start by sketching out the outline of her face and quickly start making changes from the original picture. I'm going to add some crazy hair. We're kind of going with a voodoo witch doctor type look, maybe with a robe. We're going to make nice big sleeves. So this is a first pass. We're just going to do some rough sketching. I'm putting in the arms, putting in hands, kind of getting in her stance. And as you can see, we're quickly leaving the reference behind. So I think we got a first pass. We're going to give her a necklace with a skull, maybe a bunch of skulls on it. And we're just going to start cleaning things up and erasing lines we don't like and putting in lines we do like. So already we have a basic shape for her. Just going to start adding in details, some gills on the side. She's a fish monster, remember? Just kind of add in some more bags on the eyes, a little detail on the hair. So this might look kind of sloppy, but the whole idea is just to keep it really loose, just to kind of draw something as fast as possible. Stray lines can be erased, but a lot of times I find that they end up being something that really adds to the picture later on. So I don't try to stray away from drawing even a really rough picture at first. I'm putting more detail around her hands, thinking of putting some fin-like things on the back of her hand. And I'm thinking of trying to get the shape of her underneath the robe. Maybe even making the robe partially transparent at some point. Already thinking about how I'll paint it. Still trying to figure out the legs at this point. As you can see, there's a lot of extra lines there. I'm just kind of exploring. And then I take a step back and look at what we have so far. Still not happy. Figuring out the other hand. Big fan of hands. I say that sarcastically. And so yeah, the whole process is just putting in more and more detail. We need blacker eyes. She lives at the bottom of the ocean, probably not used to light. I'm gonna make the whole hips bigger. Nice thing you can do in digital painting is make massive changes like this. And a little more detail in the hair, just getting ready for the sketch to be finished. Still don't like the legs. Kinda trying to figure out what to do. At this point it looks pretty good, but I realize her face is too human. I want the eyes bigger. I want the forehead smaller. I want the lips much bigger. I do have other fish people in the game. Not very many painted, but I think I'll be flipping over to one at a moment. And they have less human-y faces as one. I'm just trying to keep some consistency here. Alright, so it's time to start painting some color. So the first thing we're going to do is put a layer underneath the sketch and just kind of start adding some really rough color. Kind of like the sketch, we're going to start rough and work our way to details. So we've already got marked out where her skin is going to be. Gonna use some very dark blue for hair. And when you're doing painting, you want to start with darker colors and then add value. That's the technical artist term, I guess. The pink and the purple are the official colors for her team in the game. So we'll be using those heavily in her clothing. Have a lighter purple, and I'm going to put the whole robe on another layer over the whole thing in purple, and then try making it slightly transparent. So like so. There we have it. The colors are mostly there. I'm playing with the transparency. I don't really like it too much, so probably going to keep it mostly solid. Filling in some of the gaps in the paint underneath. It looks pretty bad when you take away the lines, but that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the sketch, we're going to dim it down and merge it right onto the paint. And then we're just going to darken the whole thing. Get rid of the color palette there, and then darken the whole picture and just start painting in the face. So here we go. So Hagmar needs to have nice black eyes and green skin, obviously. We're just going to slowly move the color around. Eyes are going to be the most important thing in the picture. You'll see that this goes from something that looks like a chalk drawing to an actual living creature once we put those dots on the eyes. It's amazing how that works. Just going to fill in some color, working, starting with the dark and then kind of filling in lighter where the light hits it. Actually give her little eyelashes there. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of using a brush, a solid brush at 50% and just testing for colors. And just kind of blending it all together. Put some red around the eyes where the skin is a little thinner, perhaps some blood showing through, a little bit of blue for the lips. It's looking pretty good, but still pretty rough. We need some shadow, and it looks 3D all of a sudden. And you'll notice that many of the lines on her forehead were original lines that were there when we were doing the sketch, adding a little blue on the side for dramatic effect. Alright, we're just going to keep working. It looks like the face is pretty much done. Maybe a little more red around the eyes. And we'll probably come back to it. But now it's time to work on the hair. So with the hair, the first thing we have to do is get it to stop looking like blobs of paint and look like individual hairs. Some of these little sketches that I did before need to turn into actual details, like the ribbons and the skull on the one side. I'm taking out the lines around the lips. This is a painting, so we're trying to only put it in where necessary. This takes a surprising amount of time to just kind of smear the paint around and get the values to what you want them to be. We want it to look 3D, but we don't want it to look, well, we don't want our neck to be the central focus of the picture, so it takes a lot of time to get the shapes right. Putting in some dots there, I think it adds a nice speckled effect to her neck. So I was thinking about giving her some white hair in places, but it ends up just being the shading in the hair, which I think just looks nice. Perhaps she just has some dark gray hair. Has some spots of blue and almost pink and purple in places when you look close. The trick is with the hair to make sure there's some reflection when the hairs are all in the same place. And there it is. Get the reflection there and down there. We just need to darken it up in the places and voila, it looks great. Put a little more darkness on her neck, and she's looking good. So for things like gold, you just use a very light white brush with vivid color, and it is surprisingly easy to get a metal effect. Just doing these skulls, these sorts of details take a lot of time, as you can imagine, but they look really good. So the trick is just kind of fill them out. Again, what they look like now is not necessarily what I sketched. We're just kind of running with it. The sketch was just a guide, and we're painting over all this. So just trying to start with the dark and work to the light. Same thing with the shoulder here. We're going to start by shoring up the edges. Once we got that done, we're just going to start adding some value. Still shoring things up. There it is. And it's amazing how fast it goes from a very flat looking picture to something that has depth to it when it starts catching the light. It's kind of how you just want to think of this. So again, we're just kind of doing the same thing we did with the sketch. We started with a very rough painting, and we're working towards detail. Just kind of slowly working it through, putting in layers of detail on everything. First it's rough, then it's less rough, and each time we pass through, we get a little more detail. And it's very time consuming, of course, but not as time consuming as some people would think. And once we get past the shoulders, the lower torso and legs probably won't make it into the actual game, but they will be used in marketing and stuff, so put a little effort into it, but maybe not quite as much effort. So we're still going to kind of stick with that idea that the robe is partially see-through, but you can probably only make out the gold belt on the edge there. Try to lessen up the abs, get them to almost look like scales. She is a fish creature after all. Want this skull to look nice. And pretty up the belt, lots of shading on it. We'll eventually come back and give it that shine using the vivid light brush. Once we've cleaned up everything else down here. As you can see, we're just taking the rough painting job and we are making it less rough with each pass. Adding some depth to it. If you like the music that's playing in the background, it's all from Pirate Code. It might give you an idea of what the game is kind of like. And again, we're just adding detail wherever it's needed. I go over this right arm like 3 times before I even get to the left arm. There it is. So at first it just kind of looks like a poster, cardboard cutout almost, and then we start blurring it all together and get it looking the way we want. So again, I'm not super careful that I don't mess up what's there or that I follow the lines. I really at this point have no idea the lines that I drew originally in the sketch. Whether the wrinkles match that or not really doesn't matter to me at this point. There's the shine on the belt. Looks great. But I'm more interested in just getting something that looks realistic as much as possible. Alright, so working on the hands. First thing we gotta do is get the outline of the hands looking good. The shape of them looking good. It's the most difficult part with hands. Probably doesn't hurt to look at hands if you need a reference. Decided to lose the fins, extend the nails a little bit. Kind of go with the shape that I see there. There it is, hands. Like I said, I doubt they'll appear in the final game, and try adding a little lightness to them. Don't really like it very much. A notch to the shirt. Now we're really on details. We're just putting in the ribbons and the shading at the end. And just like that, Hagmar the Abyss Queen is complete. Although this went pretty fast, it took about 5 hours. So here she is, the angry reference. And then we did this sketch. And then we painted this picture over it. Thanks for watching. Please go buy Pirate Code and wishlist Rise of the Kraken.